Hi again. I promised I'd come back and make a quick video about the difference between paperback and hardcover, and so this is that. Um, the super short version is the Amazon Kindle publishing, whatever it's KDP, um, was doing beta testing with hardcover, and I wanted to see what it looked like. Um, Unfortunately, the hardcover costs a lot more, so the printing cost is essentially why it costs as much as it does. And since it was going to cost more money, I did a couple things to tweak it. So it's slightly larger than the paperback. The font's a little bit bigger, so it's a little easier to read. And then I figured if they're going to charge more, I should include some additional content. And so at the end, I have this little appendix. Um, well, it's probably 25 pages or so. And in there, I have things like this little mini prologue that used to start the book. It got the axe, but I revived it here in case you want to see that. Heidi, my editor and collaborator, and just kind of all around um, fun person to work with. And I had conversations about the titles because for the while the book was called From the Horse's Mouth. It was Loose Lips for a while. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to name it. And so some of our discussion shows up there about titles we considered and the notes about why yes or why no. There's also a section on alternative cover art from the different stages. It's not in color because that would have cost even more. But if you wanted to see some of the original images that I was kind of thinking about as cover art, those are there. There's some of the research that I had done. Um, Sometimes the research is just finding an image from the past that reminds me of what it looked like or what some of the features were. And so some of those are there. And then there's also a couple spreadsheets that I use for tracking word counts, um, ages of characters, um, and that kind of thing. I don't know why. For whatever reason, spreadsheets just work for me. And they're very analytic, I suppose, but it works for me to help construct chapters and track progress and figure out how old people are when this is happening and plug in real life events and that kind of thing. And then the last section of the appendix is the very first chunk that I wrote that was convinced me it was more than just a short story or just kind of an idea. It's very similar to the first chapter as it appears in its finished form, but it's rougher, obviously. City names are missing, character names are kind of up in the air, but you can kind of see some of the early beginnings of what ends up becoming the novel. Um, Also, I wanted a hardcover to send to the library. Our local Scott County puts the books on the shelves for local authors, and paperbacks just get abused. And I figured I would send them a hard copy, a hardcover, and maybe that would last a little longer. So, um, as far as I'm concerned, I get paid exactly the same amount for the paperback as I do for the hardcover. And in terms of the royalties for sales, all the extra cost is in the printing. So, if you want a hardcover and you want the extra material, that's why it costs more, and I just figured I'd point that out. But thanks so much for your interest. Really enjoyed the conversations online and several people reaching out via Facebook Messenger or text messages that I haven't heard from in a while. So it's been fun. Looking forward to hearing more feedback when you get a chance to read it. I'll be sure to include the link below so that you can buy a copy if you haven't already. Thanks again. Bye.